When they came over, they brought these patterns with them. And there's a lot of Indians, you know, that had patterns. But the most of them was brought in here with them when they came here, first came here.
Our first settlers had to be so careful to use all their material that they had, you know, because they didn't have any way of, when they first got here, they didn't have any way hardly to get material, and they wanted to save every little scrap. And if it was scraps all together, and that's where the crazy quilt got started.
She spent more time inside. Well, I guess she had plenty to do, of course, that is, but it was her duty then to keep the bedclothes and to keep the house a-going. That's the reason a man wasn't involved in it, probably, because it was a woman's work. A lot of patterns were originated from things that were inside the cabin, like churn dasher and looking out the window. Mountains, a lot of patterns had mountains and stars. Bear paw, fox and the geese, or
You seen
the log cabin. That was probably one of the oldest ones, I'd say. It does. You just put it together like you'd lay up the logs to a cabin. You just keep going around and around. Just about every day something reminded, and that's where art really come in, I'd think, because it reminded her, it inspired her to go ahead and make a pattern. Well, we can see that in some of the dyes they used and the brilliant colors that they come up with on their own. They just experiment more or less with it. And they're still used today, but they're getting more modern as time goes by. I redo every one I get a hold of. I put my own touches to it, and that's the reason they keep improving them, or I don't know if it's improving or what.
I just tried to get as many different patterns of quilts in it that I could. And of course I got enough patterns I could piece 2 or 3. This is a flower garden, and this is a flying cloud. And let's see, this is a primrose.
And these are all pretty old patterns?
Most of them. This one right here is a fan. And the star is a blazing star, they call it. And there's 108 pieces in that one block.
And this blazing
In the blazing star, there's 108 pieces. Well, I saw a picture in a magazine that really gave me the idea, and they had put the different patterns, but they had made more of just rows of different patterns, and I decided, well, it'd be prettier just to have them all different instead of having so many of them the same pattern. But they had used several different patterns. And this was a lot of fun because different people began sending me patterns, and then it wasn't boring because each one was different.
Yeah. Well, how many stitches did you say it in an inch? Or
Well, to be a real good quilter, you're supposed to get 16 to an inch. And I have tried, and sometimes I have gotten 14, but usually around 12. Because that's hard to do, 16 to an inch. You just can't hardly do it. They're better than I am. In fact, it was a lot of fun. But I really did intend, I wanted just to get the oldest patterns. But first thing you know, I got more than one.
What are some of the oldest ones?
Well, the fan is real old, and the bear track, and the flower garden, and I don't know, I have several of the older ones, but not as many as I would have liked to have, because these are more modern. These designs are, and I would rather had the old-timey ones.
Yeah, I think that, well, one thing that interests me about quilts the most is the time involved with them.
No, the time. You don't count the time. But I have to have something to do. If you do just a block a day, and that's about what I usually get done after supper, that I have a piece of block. First thing you know, you've got a quilt.
Purpose of making quilts, I get to use up your scraps, I guess. I have clean scraps because I sew, and I use scraps mostly, but this one I wanted certain colors, so bought them.
The cutting out's really the hardest part for me. You have to be so precise to get it to fit.
You cut 2 or 3 at a time, it's not so bad. But if you have to mark them, you cut one piece at a time. That really didn't work. Yes, it does. That's the way I have to cut my drum. When people first settled in here, why they was such few people, you know, why they'd have to go help each other, cut their logs and raise their house. They call it log raising, and they'd take their axe and go help each other. And that's why this is called always friends, because it was friends a helping friends.
Well, do you like spending your time piecing?
Well, you have to spend it some way on it. 'Cause after you get up our age, there's not much you can do. In the wintertime especially. Only just work at quilts or read or something, and you can't just read all the time. And piecing quilts, you know, it's sort of creative, and I don't know, you like it. Get used to doing it. You get up in the morning, you think, well, I'm going to have something to be doing. Materials got so high anymore, it makes it kind of hard, you know. You don't have any pieces to work with.
Do all the piecing by hand?
Yes. This is the center of the star, and so these in it makes a conch of the star. Finishes the star out. I like to work early in the mornings. It's the quietest, best time of day to quilt. Work at anything else, I think. I go to bed early in the afternoon. I don't quilt at night, so I can't see to quilt at nights much. It's not wasted time. It's enjoyable work. I like to do it. The winter when you can't do anything else. It's good pastime. You feel like you've accomplished something when you get one done. It's pretty and something you can use too. Yes, there's satisfaction sitting quilting. You can think while you quilt, or talk to company and things, quilt right on. It takes patience. But as you get older, you learn patience.
They called it the Whig Rose. I have seen it, the pattern, under some other names, but this was what Aunt Sarah called it. I think it's a very good example of the kind of things they did, and it's a very large quilt. Shows that it was probably made for a big old four-poster of some kind. I'm sure that it's 150 years old. It could be older. And it was one made by a great aunt of my grandfather. I think the thread, the story of the thread that came to us from her, it was made on the farm in Virginia from their own cotton. And of course the calicos were bought, but I don't know about the muslin. It's fairly finely woven, and the life of it is due to such close quilting.
Yeah, I lay mine off before I start quilting. Where you mark it with the needle, you have to lay it off as you go. Make it in different patterns, scrolls and straight lines and all. You have to have something to follow. I try to make my marks real light. I don't bear down like some people like heavy marks, you know. I don't like to do that. Because it stays there. If you don't wash a quilt, and you don't want to wash them very often.
My grandmother had a quilt usually up in her living room. There were frames were homemade, holes bored in them and pegs to go down so you could extend it out, and then you could take it loose and roll it up, and they were suspended from the ceiling. But they wound the quilts up at night. They quilted early in the mornings. As soon as they got ready with the housework, and in the winter when they weren't working in gardens and canning and drying foods, they quilted a lot, as they did with their looms. They wove, you know. But the quilts were always on a quilting frame that they could make smaller as they went along. The quilt was stretched the length of it, and the sides were part that they rolled, and when they got so much quilted, they rolled it up.
Man wants beauty around him from the beginning of time. He's always wanted to surround himself with beauty, and he'll make it some way or another if he's got just earth to work with, I guess. Look what we have today to work with. It makes a quilt much easier to do than what they had to work with. So I'd call them artists.
See, there wasn't anything in moving fast back then. Everybody went at just a slow pace. If you got anywhere, you had to walk or ride a mule. Now it's jet planes. See, everything is just moving faster. And they didn't think anything about it. It just came natural to be patient. I read somewhere in a book where it said that like quilting together and working together makes you closer, you know, to something like brothers and sisters being raised up together, neighbors working together while they get closer to each other.
Did you ever see a man quilt?
Mm-mm.
They do. They do. I saw a man's quilt that he had quilted at the class we had at the college, and he did a pretty fair job. And I think this man was disabled. He'd made a lot of quilts.
So, mainly it's women, isn't it?
Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
Well, it started out that way, I guess, and men, you know, they kind of,
Well, I don't guess too many men's interested in it.
they're not that patient either.
Is that why it is?
I guess. I never had thought about it. I can't imagine my husband sitting down making a quilt. And little boys, they've always been taught that that's something the women did, I guess, and that grows up with you. Girls are expected to sew and the boys to get out and work.
You think it's changing?
Yeah, I know it is. Because we have women going in the coal mines right around here.
Wintertime, we don't ever do it in summertime. No. We got too much garden and things like that in summertime. It's just a wintertime job. I heard Uncle Felix say, Aunt Minnie's first husband said, that's the craziest thing I ever heard of. Buy new material, and sit down and cut it up in little pieces to sew it back together to make a big piece.
Irene, did you drive?
Yes, ma'am. Somebody need a ride?
Catherine.
Who does?
Catherine.
All right, I'll come in here.
She said you did.
I'll sit down at your chance. I will.
Oh, you didn't have anything for entertainment, no radios, no TVs, not anything.
I quilt a whole lot for myself,
I
you know,
have to
quilt for other people. And it takes you at least 2 weeks to quilt any kind of quilt. But a large one, it takes from 3 weeks to a month if you quilt by yourself.
Well, now, she was a Robin before she married. I don't know who she married, but I've seen her at association.
She that and that was skinny and that was.
Come in. I didn't look there.
I thought you were going somewhere else, Aunt Minnie.
Have y'all done all that this morning? No. I'm sure we done all that.
Sure, we got an early start.
I know you might be smart, but you aren't that smart now.
There's one.
We're gonna tax over. We got some to tax when we get this one out. That's what I
have
said.
still-
It's rookie here. It's all fairly.
Carrie, are you up here by,
That's all right.
let's see, by Catherine on that
That'll do.
side? I want my children, I have a daughter that quit better than I do. Got some granddaughters learning.
Every time you sit down and start, I never get this done.
I won't let myself look ahead that way. I just sit down and enjoy quilting.
I'm just so on the ground, I'm as happy as I can be a quilting.
You haven't been dreaming.
What's this called? This kind of star?
The wishing star. Wishing star.
If I am piecing up.
Got a pretty name, that is.
That'd be easy.
It all pieces together, doesn't it?
She's done a good job on piecing it smooth and
Piece it by hand.
yes, yes. That's what it takes to actually put one
It
together.
is.
That's the only way I can have one neat is to
It's
do
a
it by
treat.
hand.
They're pretty. You can tell as soon as you look at one that it's pieced on the machine. I can't.
Bernie Banks told me, just punch that needle up and down the quilt, you get the hang of it. That's the way I used to do. Right down I go, you know, and I get under it and I stick it back up. And that's how I learned.
I remember the first time I ever quilted and quilted good was at my aunt's, right up here up the creek and quilted at her quilt. That's where I learned. But our mother used to let us, when we were just little, if she had a quilt up she wasn't very particular with, she'd let us all
Where they
put in a few stitches.
Now I can tell mine because I've got red fingernail polish. I've got some
Well,
of
I feel mine
mine.
because I've got tape in mine.
I've got tape in mine too.
Oh, well, I mean, I don't guess yours is as dirty as mine.
Yeah, I guess it is.
got together and gossiped and had a good time, just like we're doing today. Everybody, you know, well, that was a bigger thing than it was now because people didn't get together so often. And when they had a quilting, people would come from everywhere around, you know, and have good times and a big dinner. We didn't have many social gatherings back then, just church was about it. Box suppers at school or something like that, but have a quilting, that was a big day. Well, of course, they just have it in communities now, like we'd have it here on this creek. Well, the neighbors on this creek, or maybe some from over town would come, walk across the hill then here to come. Well, when you think about it, they go buy blankets that are warm. If we older people made quilts to keep warm, they had to. And now you
had was a fireplace.
yeah, and you
We had to
had
have 4 or 5 quilts on the bed.
and now they can buy blankets. I guess it may be not very sensible to quilt to spend all that time unless you really like to. We all like to.
Sit there and sew. I don't realize it's going to be more hard than being idle. Sit there and sew. I don't know.
Selima, finished.
Get in here. Take it out. Get in here. Take it out.
Y'all help me.
Yeah, you can't look at them like that as a waste of time or anything.
Well, if you put your time into it, you never
Never come out and
never
talk
get your money back.
I think it keeps your mind occupied, doesn't let you wonder who does it. I don't know.
Yeah, keeps you from going.
Yeah.
Getting bored, yeah. People say they're
I never have
bored.
said I'm bored yet.
I
'cause
never
always-
have. It always. I hate to hear people say I'm
Oh,
bored.
or not.
I'd like to
don't
give
know
them some
what
quilt pieces.
Nothing to do with the time. It just irks me.
See, right now, I think that so many people is beginning to realize the value of things. Now, it takes a long time to make a quilt, and everything is flying anymore. Even time seems to be rushing by. See, there's nobody won't take time to sit down, quilt.